And welcome to Long Lost Tech, and today I've got something kind of special for you. Before we start, I'd like to apologize about the 3D printer noises because the 3D printer is 3D printing. But anyways, something kind of special for you. You've probably seen this Mac Classic 2 in a video I put out a couple months ago, where I just kind of showed off the specs and what it's all about. And then at the end of the video I talked about why it wasn't working, and why I did not want to really mess with it yet. And so a couple months have passed. I got a keyboard for it. Sadly it was, I'll just put it this way, I paid more for the keyboard than I did for the computer. Which shows you kind of, I don't know, ADB keyboards and mice are very expensive on places like eBay. You know, like I just said, sometimes they're more expensive than these machines, but fortunately this uses Apple Desktop Bus ADB, and so I got this Macintosh ADB keyboard trackpad combo, which I thought was kind of interesting that it had a trackpad built in. And so yes, the Mac. So I did not make an update to that video because I was kind of fearing the worst with this machine, but basically, as I discussed, the capacitors are basically always the problem, no matter what, with these classics and other similar Macs of the era. And so, I got the error. I had a checkerboard pattern on the screen. If I have a picture of it, I will put that up on the screen now. And anyways, so I soaked just the other day, I took the board out of here and soaked it in a tub of 99% isopropyl alcohol for about 3 hours, because, you know, I've heard of the whole put your Mac in a dishwasher thing. Of course I don't have a dishwasher, nor would I want to attempt the dishwasher thing, so I did not do the dishwasher thing. And so I put it in the tub of isopropyl because I figured it already didn't work, and what's the worst that could happen to it? And so I left it in there for a while. There was some visible cap electrolytic juice on there, and so I cleaned that up, and I used some Q-tips and got the rest off. And so I threw the board back in, hit the power switch, and it was working. And so I plugged the hard drive back in, which I did not expect to be working, but it is. So without further ado, let's just get to it. Try not to electrocute myself with exposed high voltage analog components, but we'll be alright. So, no chime, which I'll get to probably in a later video, but basically, the whole no sound problem that I'm getting is a result of the capacitors. They've leaked so much of their juice out that that's usually one of the last things to go is your sound, and so I know that this machine, like, I barely brought it back to life. But welcome to Macintosh is the screen we get, and some extensions were loading, I do believe. And so it works. Quick side note, it's not this yellow in person, as it may appear on screen. It almost looks the same color as my table. Trust me, it's not. It's just normal old beige color, but it's kind of making it look yellow. My terrible lighting in this room, as always. So, yeah, we've got a working Mac. So let me try to use my terrible little trackpad here. I'll show you around. So let's go to About This Mac. So, it's a Mac Classic 2, obviously. It's running a System 701. It's got 4 megs of RAM. I think it's like a 70, we'll get there. So it's got I'm thinking this is like a 70 meg hard drive-ish, or 75, because there's 20 megs on the disk and 50 megs free, so 70 megs-ish. So it doesn't really have a whole lot on it. I would assume that the previous owner was using floppies mostly, because I see if we go into apps here. Oh, I gotta click over here. Old Mac OS is definitely not my thing. So, you've got Microsoft Works, Aldus PageMaker, ClarisWorks, MacDraw, and so I think that's like the typical home office type stuff. Ooh, my screen's really orange. Alright. But, okay, well, hold on. I don't really know where that orange light came from. But it is looking orange. Anyhow, yeah, so it works, basically. I wrote this disk, which is obviously not a Mac disk, but this has a, I think I already went over that, but this has a 144 meg super drive, so it can use 1.44 meg IBM compatible formatted disks, but it will not, like, read them, which is something I got mixed up about at first. Basically, it will use these normal old PC, like 1.4 meg disks, but it will not actually read them because they're not formatted right. But I formatted this one already, and I think I have a text document on here. Put that in there, and geez, the screen is very dark. And attempt to get back to the Finder here with my great one-handed trackpad usage here. Trackpad usage. Alright, so whatever, you get the point. It works. So yeah, the Mac, it's not dead. It's kind of dead. It's half alive. It's kind of been Frankenstein monstered back to the land of the living. It will definitely need a recap at some point, and that is something I have been looking at. Unfortunately, it uses I don't really have a good example here, but it uses like these. It uses these surface mount capacitors. Unlike your normal barrel type caps, yeah, so like I was saying, it uses these surface mount caps that are obviously surface mounted, and there are no traces on the bottom of the board. Like if you look here at this purple kind of looking one, there are no traces back there. So they're mounted directly to the top of the PCB, which makes them very difficult to desolder compared to like these barrel type caps, where if you look on the underside of there's actually there are actually leads sticking out of the bottom. So that makes it very difficult to desolder them, and you need a heat gun, not just normal soldering iron, which I have a heat gun. And so I think it's going to take some practice desoldering. I'm going to use this GeForce card, which is dead, to practice desoldering these before we attempt a recap of this. There's also a service that offers to recap your Mac. There's a guy who you send the board to him, you pay him, he'll recap it and some other nice maintenance stuff and send it back. But that's like, I think my quote I got from him was over $80. And on a computer that I did not spend that much money on, I would rather take my chances. And so that's just a little rundown of the Mac and how it's working. This Mac Brickout has been grabbing my attention for the past hour and a half. Let's give that a shot. By the name, I would suspect this is, I don't know, Breakout or something. I don't know. This is a lot newer than my 512K, that's for sure. A lot faster. Oh. Okay, that's stupid. Okay, so why would the owner have it installed on their hard drive if it's a 256 color game on a black and white Mac? That makes lots of sense. Oh, as you can see, I had the time and date set improperly. Well, I actually do, because PRAM battery I pulled, because that was another thing I talked about. The RAM batteries in these old Macs likes to explode violently and ruin stuff. So that's that. So yeah, and so I'll give more of a history of this Mac when I have time. to make a full video. This was just kind of off the cuff. I obviously didn't script this, as you might have been able to tell. I'll leave you with this shot of some words I typed. Just test message, you know. I don't know how long the hard drive's gonna last. I mean, that's the type of thing that will go bad eventually. It's already making the whirring noise, like the bearings are not quite where they used to be. I haven't heard any clunks and knocking noises yet, but so yeah. So in the future, I plan to get some form of something or other adapter so that I can plug a SCSI, either a CD-ROM drive or a zip drive, into that port there, or alternatively use it as a hard drive, and then so that I could get data over from my eMac onto here. So, or I could do serial or something. There are a lot of possibilities. You'll definitely be seeing this Mac in the future, so stay tuned for that. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you in the next video.